Greetings and salutations, everyone. We're changing up the formula here a little bit here. I have my parents are going to be coming down very shortly here for Christmas, which means a lot of my free time is going to be occupied and whatnot. So, what I decided to do is instead of doing my usual schedule of doing the videos, I would just do one video for this week, and then come January, we'll go back and do our usual thing here. What I wanted to do for December was look back on the games that got released during the year 2019, and then look back, look through, be like, okay, which games did I like? Which games do I think are of great value? Which ones didn't I appreciate? And I came up with a list of 7 games that I actually liked playing during the year 2019. The problem was I didn't want to do 5, it's too generic a number. Didn't want to do 10, didn't really think of 10 games that were released in 2019. Plenty of games that were released in 2018, let me tell you that. But 7 just kind of ended up being a good average number here. It's all worked out here. They're in no particular order. I think they actually might be by release date, since I did look through it by date. So there's that. But other than that, it's not suddenly the game at the end of the list is better or worse than the game that I listed at the front of my list. And just because a game didn't show up just because a game doesn't show up on this list doesn't mean I didn't like the game or I thought the game was stupid. No, it's just for me personally, I just didn't think it made it on the list. And there's some games that I honestly just haven't had a chance to play yet for 2019, so I don't have an opinion on whether or not a game is good or not. These are just the games I've experienced playing this year that I was like, yeah, this is actually real good stuff. Because, I'll be honest, I have probably 20 different games at any given month that I'm currently playing through and just having a fun time with. Some of them, for most of the videos that I do, are replays, or there's my second time or third time or even 20th time through going back through that game. And then there are others that are my first time through, and it just takes progress to get through that. But I at least just wanted to show that yes, I do keep up to some degree with games that are being released out in current years. So without further ado, here's the best 7 games that I played in the year 2019. Of all time, and just super fun to do. This was a long wait to find another good Ace Combat game. Ace Combat 6 came back during the 360 days, so it took quite a bit before we would get Ace Combat 7. And it's this perfect blend of this arcadey type of fight of essentially one man versus an army versus flight sim of flying a jet around in the environment. Easy. Not even worried here. But it was this is honestly probably one of the better buys I've had this year. It's super fun. I think it's actually more difficult than the previous installations. That's just me personally. But it's got this nice sort of weather system. You've got clouds to fly through. Stay too long in the clouds, your plane ices up. But clouds do affect your radar lock-on ability, not to mention your ability to actually see through the clouds and whatnot. It was a little windy as well. Just a normal day in the field here. But this was such a load of fun. I'm still playing it. It's got multiple difficulty levels to go through. But super cool. I'm doing this in free play mission. Otherwise there would be enemies anywhere and I'd have objectives to go through. But I just wanted to just show off a little bit of how the game looks and casually talk about it. So we're in free play mode. I usually don't mess around mess around with free play mode because I would just want to go through, just do the mission, and claim my kills and all that. But yeah, no, super excited this game came out when it did, and super happy that I got to play it and continue the story of Ace Combat. Slay the Spire. So, admittedly, I played this game during its early access days, way back when. But boy, is this game super fun. So it's a roguelike game where there's a lot of randomness involved as far as like what enemies you could face, what bosses you might face, the path you take to get to the end and whatnot, and you do it all in essentially one go. There's options to save and whatnot, so you don't have to play it in one go, but you absolutely could if you had the time to do so. But you can see this is basically this tree of options to go all the way up to the top of one section, and you just kind of choose how you would like to go about trying to get to the top of the spire. And it's a deck building type of game as well. So you have characters. There's 3 of them. They have essentially unique cards to themselves, but they all have like basic attack, basic blocks, and then usually special cards meant for them. And the whole idea is to basically not run out of health and just take down the enemies. So it could be quite interesting. Thank goodness for bludgeon. Started off with a rare card. Super helpful. There's all sorts of different strategies you can go about. There's a merchant out in the world, so there's these random elements you could find. Ooh, reach inside, lose health, or find a relic. Yes, that was pretty good. What did I get is the question. Upon pickup, raise your max HP by 14. Nice. Alright. I can live with that. So there's that kind of thing. There's like the risk-reward system. You'll probably lose more often than actually get through the end of the game, but it's got like ooh, pray to upgrade a card. Let me see, I can upgrade that or that. I'm actually just gonna upgrade that. Why not? Go super strong here. It's also got like, in case you actually do beat the game with all the characters and whatnot, it does have a sort of a more difficult mode that you could access just to make the game harder for you and all that. But surprisingly well done. Like, the artwork is beautiful. It's not what would usually be like the sort of the popular pixel style. No, it's more of this sort of beautiful 2D art going on here. Really love the game. And this is another game that my younger brother really enjoys. This is one of those games you can relax to and all that. So I have this on the PC. My brother's the one who actually bought this on the Xbox. It's also on the Switch, if I remember correctly, and I think the Switch is really good for this game in particular because of the sort of, you can carry it with you. You don't have to have quick reactions or whatnot. It's more about just being a thinker for this kind of game, just knowing what you want, figuring out what's going to be good, and you can always, it has a save and quit option, but with the Switch you can just put it into sleep mode and you're fine with it. So up to you how you want that, but this is a game I definitely would recommend looking into. It might be your kind of thing. Good old Anthem as well. So, oh look, there's a little event happening, but we're gonna ignore that. Now, I could get a lot of flack for saying that Anthem is a good game. It's got its faults. Let's not beat around the bush. Like, it's got some hiccups, got some content problems that could easily turn away somebody, but mechanically speaking wise, flying around in these Iron Man-like exosuits, tackling baddies and whatnot, different creatures, different like enemy suits, is actually like really fun to do. It's definitely better, in my opinion, to grab your buddies with you. Like, it's fine. There's plenty of ways to play with like online people, but you definitely want at least somebody to play with you, hopefully in the same room as you, so you can talk about what combos you're gonna pull off and whatnot, what targets you want to get after and whatnot. And it's a beautiful looking world. Like, there's no denying that. It just needs more reasons to play, essentially. That's kind of its biggest problem that I have with the game. But this is a game that me and my youngest brother just absolutely love to play. We'll go do a mission or two, maybe one of the more difficult strongholds, just try to work our way to try to find like really good gear and all that. Yep. Found some salvage materials and whatnot. And the thing with this game is, like, we know they're currently re-looking at Anthem. We don't know if they're just making a new Anthem game in general, or if they'll gonna do a big rehaul on the whole system itself. Would prefer that one, don't want to re-buy this game. But it's honestly, like, this was honestly a good first step. Just really needed some good team members to kind of hash out the story of this game and work out some of the kinks and whatnot. But I love playing this game. If you've got buddies that honestly would be like, yeah, let's all go into our suits, tackle this world, tackle hordes of monsters, then this is actually like pretty high up there. Plus, there's not a lot of these sort of MMO sci-fi games that you have out there, and so this itches kind of that particular scratch of mine, especially like when you look at like Diablo, Destiny. This is both similar to those games and yet still unique over those games. And personally, I prefer this playing over Destiny. Destiny is a little bit too combat heavy for like PvP stuff and whatnot. Whereas this, you can freely explore a bit, then go back into combat, and then quietly fly through the air again with no worries whatsoever. So, it's just a fun game. Hopefully whatever they're gonna do next with this project, hopefully they address some of the content issue, mostly the end game stuff, to make this more fun and whatnot. Except Smuggler's Run challenge. Do I look like a smuggler? Yes, but that's not the point. Now, Octopath Traveller. This is a good example of how to make a beautiful game using minimal graphics. Because boy oh boy, is it a pretty game. Just probably high up there on my list of games I love to play. And it's so nice because it harkens back to the days of the Final Fantasy era of, like, you have specific people, they have specific job classes. You get to further customize that later on down the road. But the idea is you have 8 people, each with their own individual stories that are sort of woven together and help create sort of this big overall arcing story. Now you can play, you have to pick somebody, and they're always locked into your party, so you always must experience that person's story. And essentially that class is always with you no matter what. But you could pick up the other 7 along the way, so you could try to go and experience each character's story all at once, essentially. You just tackle them one step at a time. You could just do it where it's just 4 people, just experience essentially half of the characters and be fine with that. Even go super crazy, just pick one character and experience the game with just that one. It's basically, there's some replayability value in this game. Not to mention that there's a bunch of side quests in which you have to use like a character's special ability, usually to figure out what's going on. Sometimes it's just basically remembering what somebody has said before and being like, oh, okay, they have this item that I was looking for since this guy asked me later on. Gotta go back and find out where she is and all that. It's very well done, very smart, and I would love to see essentially an Octopath Traveller 2 come along the way eventually. It's very well done, very well thought out, and just, it's a gorgeous game. This is running off of the Unreal Engine, and it does wonders for this. Even though it's in this pixel art format, it's very smooth, very well done, and just, they did a very good job of creating a beautiful world here, in my opinion. But go take a look for yourself. Right, so 3 houses. This was so over the past couple times that they've introduced a new Fire Emblem title, it's worked to try to figure out how to basically reinvent the wheel, just make it a lot more interesting to play and whatnot. And 3 Houses definitely goes and makes a whole new trail ahead for it. With basically, you kind of choose one of 3 people to be with, to be their teacher, and then help train him, get him stronger and whatnot. On top of all of that, each of the students that you'll be teaching, like, kind of has like a particular goal as far as what weapons they would like to use, whether they be like a spear wielding guy, a bow guy, an axe guy. They've got different ways, but they're all pretty much the same class at the beginning, and you can change it up, let them be different people entirely, and it's just sort of evolve their tree over time. And it's really, really nice. It gives a lot more customization involved there. The battlefield, as I can see, back to the glorious 3D. It's just got, you can see a lot more easy of not only danger areas, but you can see when a particular opponent is going to target somebody. You can see everybody that I have is going to be is in the danger range, but I can specifically see who this thief is going to go target, and it adds for a lot more. Of who do you try to get into the way and whatnot. Stay focused. Even if I put him right here, he's still targeting the lady in red, Edelgard. So it adds just a little bit more just ideas on how you move units around and whatnot. And it's got the classic and casual modes of gameplay where typically in Fire Emblem, if a unit dies in battle, it's gone throughout the rest of the game. In casual mode, it's a little bit easier where if they die, they're just out for the rest of the combats, and then they'll come back later. So, and they've been doing that, I think, since the 3DS days. Could be from the DS as well. Can't remember, but it's a happy mode for those who aren't super deep into it. I remember playing Firestones back in the day on the GBA, and I worked really hard to keep everybody alive, and even then I lost, I think, 2 people during the very final battle. It was quite saddening, but it's nice to have this casual mode where I can be like, nah, I'll just kick back a little bit, not be as crazy, not be as defensive, and go a little bit crazy. That's the phrase I'm looking for. But yeah, no, definitely one of the better Switch games out there, that's for sure. So, Remnant is a game heavily influenced by Dark Souls, but with a few changes, there's mostly a focus on long-range combat, shotguns, pistols, assault rifles. The other big thing is... Oh, I don't want to read notes. I was just hoping to pick up items. The other big thing about this game is that the other Dark Souls games are more of single-player experiences, and they had kind of a weird multiplayer thing added to it, essentially. This is designed from the ground up to be a squad of 3 working together to take down the bosses, enemies, go through the different areas and whatnot. And another big change actually is that the worlds are different per se. You might find different dungeons, different bosses than somebody else, and so there's a lot of replayability just naturally in there. And there's also different difficulties. There's a hardcore setting, and it's from a small indie game developer, and this was so far left field, but it's so brilliantly well done, and it's honestly like it's what I wanted Dark Souls to do properly, was make a co-op game in this Dark Souls era. So if you really enjoy sort of the harder difficulty style of playing a game, sort of the slower combat style, then I would say that this is a pretty good choice. It's, you know, look, here we go. We got some enemies here. As you can see, there's my little pew-pew. And you can see, like, I did some damage, but not a whole lot. At that range, at least. The character, there's like classes per se. You basically have a short range, a medium range, and a long range person. And you can further customize them, armor, gun-wise, and whatnot, to really flesh out the playstyle you like. But it's pretty good. I didn't actually mean to ping that guy, but I did accidentally. What happens with this controller? But yeah, no, super well done. Looks good. Some rough edges, but it plays pretty darn well. And they've got a roadmap to introduce content during the year 2020, so more stuff's on the way. But give it a look if you haven't seen this game before. Alright, so talk about a surprise for 2019. So, I come from the era of where, back in my day, we had Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, and Jedi Academy on the PC, which also found its way to consoles and whatnot. And those were really good, essentially, renditions of both the first-person shooter, kind of like Doom, but also featuring very good lightsaber fight mechanics and force power mechanics. And it had been a really long time since we had a strong Star Wars game in general, let alone a strong Star Wars single-player game. And then here comes a Fallen Order here, and by golly, this is beautiful. It's a little rough on the edges, I admit, but it all focuses on you basically being a Padawan, and just learning how to, getting stronger. And yes, it uses Dark Soul mechanics, but it's not as difficult as the Dark Souls, and it has a lot more of unique flavor to the franchise in general. Just a very solid game overall, and I wasn't honestly expecting it to be as good as this is. Like, it's just, there's a lot of just little things. We got our own little pet droid. He can scan stuff, add it to the database. You get like experience points to help level you up and get you more abilities and whatnot. Just, it's honestly super well thought out, and we honestly didn't think we were gonna get a good single player Star Wars game from EA with kind of how rocky of a development that this game just had during its early life. But super happy it's actually like come out and in pretty good shape, honestly. And they've been patching it over time to make it a little bit less rough on those edges. But honestly, very well solid, very good like story with it. It was honestly, I'd say probably the biggest surprise of the year was a good Star Wars game coming from EA. And that's all I have to say. I don't want to like try to spoil any of like the story elements or anything about that, but honestly, it's a good find here if you want to look into that. And that's it. That was a pretty good year, I think, honestly. I hope to play. I know there's some games that haven't made it to the list just because I haven't played them yet, but I hope to get around those probably around 2020, knowing me. And it'd be like summer 2020 when sales are going on. But that is it for today. I will see you all in the next year. We will resume our usual video schedule, and I hope you're all having a great day today. Merry Christmas, season's greetings, Happy Hanukkah, all the above to you guys. Take care, everyone.